What I thought I'd do in this episode is to revisit the concrete garden box panels I've poured over the last few years to see how they're holding up. A lot of viewers have been asking how they've been handling the weather and the elements, so I thought I should do a short video on that. The entire concrete garden box series to date has generated over 7 million views worldwide. I never expected that there would be that much interest in making these. It's just been amazing, and thank you so much for your ongoing support. So I have 4 different mold variations and 6 or 7 variations of concrete formulas, from Aircrete to super hard and dense CSA concrete. Not all worked out well enough for me to add to our garden, but I'll show you what I have. And I'll start with the most recent variation. This is the 4th version, and I think the easiest forms to build. These panels were poured and the box added to the garden 3 years ago in June of 2020. These are 36-inch panels that are 2 inches thick and 9 inches tall. Like all the panels, they can be stacked to make a taller bed. On my blog post for these panels, I detailed the cost of making the forms and pouring the concrete. Each wooden form runs around $10 in materials to build, and each panel around $6 in concrete mix. And with this design, I was able to form the holes for the locking pins with removable plastic pipe. And when the concrete hardens, the panels could be dropped out of the forms without removing the walls. These panels have no reinforcing wire or grid inside, and there's no plastic pipe embedded protecting the pinholes, but they have held up well in our garden and look pretty much like they did when they were new. I don't see any cracks anywhere. I'll show you some close-ups. And these panels don't have the decorative inset like the rest of the concrete garden boxes here. I was trying to design a very simple panel that anyone with a few tools could make. The corners are pinned together with these large framing spikes. The black pipe supplies water to the drip irrigation lines, and it would have been tidier to have that pipe running up the inside of the box instead of outside. This garden box is made from CSA concrete, and it's from part 4 of the series. These panels are 8 inches tall and 1.5 inches thick. The CSA concrete is very hard and sets up fast. There's almost no cure time needed, so you can pour multiple panels in a day. And this type of concrete is so strong you can make the panels thinner. This saves on materials and weight. The drawback is cost and availability. CSA concrete may not be available everywhere, and it costs quite a bit more than regular concrete. However, the panels have a very smooth finish, and I think they look really nice. Right, Macy? I made these panels and added them to our garden 4 years ago in July of 2019. This garden box is made from 48-inch panels. They have a wire reinforcing grid embedded during the pour, and I see no signs of cracks or wear over the years. This type of concrete is very durable and hard wearing, so I would expect it to last for a long, long time. I tested the strength of these panels in another video to see how much weight it would take to break one, and I'll put a link to that in the description if you're interested. All right, let's have some close-ups. This CSA concrete is almost white in color, or maybe close to a warm antique white or tan. You can get it to look more like Portland-based concrete by adding some black dye. Then it'll have a more traditional gray tint. This box is actually 36 inches by 48 inches in size. You can see we have strawberries spreading everywhere, even in the pathways, and loads of calendula too. It's almost October, so the garden overall is overgrown and winding down. This box is made from 2 different lightweight concrete panels, and it measures 36 by 48 inches. They are all 8 inches tall and 2.5 inches thick. I made quite a few different lightweight blends, and I didn't label some of them, so I had to grind away a small spot on the edge of each to see which is which. This red 36-inch one and the 2 48-inch ones are made from a perlite blend. The 36-inch one on the opposite end is a vermiculite blend. Many of my experimental panels were purposely broken to test their strength, so some garden boxes are a mix of the panels I had left over. All of these panels have fared well over the years. The perlite panels were made 3 years ago and the vermiculite 4 years ago. They're strong, durable, and lightweight, and they're my favorites in the lightweight category. All of the formulas are in the accompanying blog posts on my website, manabouttools.com. I see a small crack in this red one around the pipe, but it's holding together still. There's wire wrapped around the pipe embedded in the concrete, so that's probably why it's still intact. Here, I'll show you some close-ups of that. That's that tiny little hairline crack right at the edge of this red perlite blend. It's pretty small, but it's there. Here's the little sections I had to grind away with my angle grinder so I could see what was in these. That's clearly white perlite. And you can see on the edge of this one, there's white perlite as well. And around the far side, there's white perlite on that one. And I ground some away, and this is a vermiculite panel. And they're all holding together really well, except for that one crack. I also made some Aircrete panels over the years, and the best results came from part 3.6 of the series. They mixed and molded well and certainly were very lightweight, but not very durable. And I think that's just the nature of Aircrete. Without sand, they can't handle an impact well, and the line trimmer I used for testing durability tore them up pretty bad. So I didn't add those to my garden. I did break quite a few to test their deflection strength, and those results were very good in my opinion. I think the perlite and the vermiculite panels are an excellent balance of strength, durability, and weight, so I prefer them over Aircrete right now. In this bed I have 3 more vermiculite panels, plus one on the other end made from red lava rock instead of gravel, and all of these still look good. And here's where I've had to grind away a little bit to see that that was vermiculite. And that one's vermiculite. This is a little bit of the red lava rock from that pour. And it also looks pretty good. Holding up really well. Now, these 2 garden boxes are made with panels from part 2 of the series, where I was able to greatly simplify the forms. I used ready-mix bags of crack-resistant concrete for these, and they're 36 and 48 inches long by 8 inches tall and 2.5 inches thick, pretty much the standard that I started with. They've held up well and have no cracks. There is one panel, however, that has some cracks and seems to be crumbling, and I think I may have added too much water to the mix on this one. It's the only panel in the garden showing any real issues, so I'll have to replace it. These panels were poured 4 years ago in June of 2019. This one is an extended box where I have panels laid end to end, and I'll show you some close-ups of all of this, including this one here that has the cracks in it and is kind of crumbling apart here. I think it was just the mix was too wet. But everything else on this panel or this garden box looks really good. For being 4 years old, I think it's holding up really well. Okay, and this corner here is crumbling apart. Get some shots of this box as well. And you can see some stuff has suffered from the drought we've had this year. And this box was extended, linked together. That's a 48-inch panel, end linked with another 48-inch panel. So I believe this one's 36 by 96, I believe. And it's holding up really well. All right. And the last stop on our tour today, I'll show you the very first panels I poured and added to this garden. These are 5 years old from my very first concrete garden box video. The forms I made for these were from plywood and they work well, but looking back, they were way more complicated than they needed to be. But at that time, I was just making these for myself and didn't realize the interest they would gain. They're the same size as the previous ones and they too have held up well. I don't see any issues at all and I don't see any cracks anywhere. So thanks very much for watching. As I said, I have a blog post on my website for all the panels with detailed mold building tutorials, formulas, and recipes for lightweight concrete blends, plus strength and durability testing results. And I have plans available for download for all 4 versions of the forms. Have a look at those and we'll see you next time. Oh, and I need to get some shots of this too. I'm mainly getting close-ups of the corners where I would expect them to crack. But this is the oldest one and it's holding up really well. And I apologize if I'm making you a little bit dizzy from moving around so fast, but I want to move through this as quickly as I can. And the last corner over here. Whew! That was a lot. Excellent.